Welcome back to another banger waiver wire video. Fantasy baseball playoffs are just around the corner, and we have another big wave of potentially impactful players to help put our rosters over the top as we head into the home stretch. We've got a big list of waiver wire targets, shallow and deep league ads, plus a couple of guys I'd be staying away from when it comes to making those fab bids this weekend. So whether you're fighting for a playoff spot or getting ready for a championship run, this video is for you. Like it, hype it, bang it. I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. All right, let's start this video off with one of the hottest hitters in the minor leagues this year, an absolute banger, finally making his comeback to the majors after a lot of turmoil, some poor play, and some off-field issues over the last couple of years. We have Zach Veen from the Colorado Rockies. Now, Veen has just added a shit ton of weight and muscle since the last time we saw him. I think he added over 40 pounds of muscle. He looks like the Hulk out there. He's absolutely juiced out of his mind. He's also clean and sober and hoping just to start a new chapter in his baseball career, and he wasted absolutely zero time in his return to the big leagues, popping a homer in his first game back. 407 feet at 101 miles per hour off the bat. He did end the day 1 for 3, but he also had another loud out at 108 miles per hour off the bat. The big question here from him being like a potentially slam dunk pickup is just the playing time. The Rockies outfield is crowded. I don't understand why they didn't ship out more guys at the deadline, but like that just beats me. That's just kind of what Colorado's been doing. They currently have McCarthy, Carey, and Mickey Boy patrolling out there, and then to accommodate Veen actually in that first game, Carrick switched to shortstop, but he did eventually get put back to the outfield, and Veen was pulled after the 6th inning. So really, we haven't got much information about the playing time, how that's going to work, and that first game wasn't ideal by any means. Veen does have big power potential, though, big speed potential in a home ballpark that can elevate and boost any deficiencies that may still be in his swing. Veen was scorching hot in AAA, hitting .327, .402, .635 with 24 home runs and 18 steals in 100 games. And he did that with good enough play discipline as well. He had a 20% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate, and better quality of contact metrics than we saw with him last season as well. Also, we just want to take this with a grain of salt, like a massive grain of salt here. This is based off, I think, 5 competitive swings at the time I've recorded this, but it looks like his bat speed has took a massive jump here, nearly 6 miles per hour. But I do expect that to come down a lot because he was definitely juiced out of his mind. Definitely the adrenaline was pumping through his veins that first game back into the majors. So I am going to be really curious to see where that bat speed settles over the next few games here. I like Veen. I just need to see how the situation is going to unfold for the playing time. But if the Rockies are going to make him anything close to like an everyday player, I think he can be a very impactful guy for 12-team leagues as we head into the fantasy baseball playoffs. And the Rockies have that massive home stretch starting around the middle of September. Also, this sure made me look like I'm fucking 400 pounds, man. I don't know. It's not flattering my curves, my pecs here, boys. This is the best I've felt in the last 2 years. That was a quote from our next guy that we're going to talk about in the main waiver wire list. He hasn't pitched since 2024, but is very close to his return to the majors. We got Dirty Joe Musgrove from the St. Diego Padres. Now, Musgrove did throw 53 pitches over 3.1 innings in his previous rehab outing, and notably, he averaged 94.7 miles per hour on his four-seamer in that one, which is 1.7 miles per hour up from where he was in 2024 and higher than he's actually ever recorded across a full MLB season. He probably will lose some of that when he's asked to go 5 or 6 inches deep, but it's very encouraging for a pitcher returning from Tommy John to have a nice velo boost. And really, Musgrove was an ace or a must-start pitcher for fantasy over the last 4 to 5 seasons that he actually pitched. I know the rehab has gone on longer than anyone would have thought. I had him stashed earlier in the year, had to drop him, then I've actually re-picked him up in a couple of my leagues as a stash as he's getting pretty close here. But San Diego looks like they're going to backdoor a wildcard spot. There is incentive to get him back on the mound and pitch well, and I think after maybe one more rehab start, I think he'll be up. It remains to be seen how effective Dirty Joe will be once he's actually pitching in the majors, but there's no denying the upside, no denying the talent, and if he regains any little bit of the form that we saw him have the last time he pitched in the majors, I think he could be a very effective pitcher, a very effective starting pitcher as a depth piece as we head into the fantasy baseball playoffs. So if you're in a 12-man league and you need some starting pitching depth, definitely consider stashing and adding Joe Musgrove on your team today. Maybe it's my bad not talking about this guy last week, even though, you know, I did mention him on my Twitter or X account, but I'm just not that into platoon guys, especially guys on the Marlins, where they are one of the more strict teams out of the entire MLB about how they platoon their players. So unless it's like a daily league or daily lineup league, that's where I consider adding platoon guys. But this guy has just been mashing righties all week, really off and on over the last month now. We got Griffin Conine from the Miami Marlins. Just a little heads up here. Through this segment, I don't know why I'm calling him Conine and not Conine. My brain was mumbled. No disrespect to him, and then no disrespect to all the word pronunciation guys that would, you know, come from my booty if I didn't put this in here. So yes, he will get benched against lefties, and yes, if you take out the weird 2 pinch hit home runs in the middle of July that he had in a span of 3 games, his 30-day game log doesn't look as sexy, but it's still good. But at some point, especially near the end of the season, teams do allow or give their players more opportunity to hit against the opposing side pitching if they haven't all year, especially if the Marlins start to fall further and further of the playoff race. They could opt to give Conine a bigger chance against Southpaws to close the year out. Conine is hitting 294, 395, 651 with 13 home runs and a 1.05 OPS against righties this year and 126 at-bats, which is kind of insane. That's downright a disgusting stat line. And then if we look at the polar opposite here, he's hitting 192 with a 442 OPS against lefties. I know there was a recent interview that Conine did, and he was just mentioning how he's finally getting some sort of regular playing time and just the ability to get in a groove. And I know we've talked about this lots on this channel, and I think it is kind of like a majorly overlooked thing when talking about prospects or younger guys is about the playing time. They need to be able to get in a groove. They need to be able to play every day because they've just done it their entire life. So we have a cool little stat here too. His 944 OPS is the 3rd highest among all major leaguers with at least 150 plate appearances, trailing only Alvarez and Juan Soto. It's kind of insane right now. His StatCast page is all red where you want it to be, baby. He has great bat speed. He pulls the ball in the air a lot. The whiffs and Ks you can see are not good. They're not that great, but he's just creaming baseballs. And with the Kyle Stowers injury opening up more playing time and his profile kind of looking eerily similar to Kyle Stowers when he broke out a couple years back, he just needs to cream a spot into your starting lineup in 12-team leagues like yesterday. Next up, we have an absolute flamethrower, a guy who just chucks pure gas, which I just love to see. You love to see it, and you should too. He's missed the entire season so far, recovering from right shoulder surgery, but it doesn't look like it's affected his velo at all. We have Ben Joyce from the Los Angeles Angels. Now, Joyce has always had closer potential. He has a triple-digit fastball, a nasty sinker, and a disgusting slider that mimics his four-seam about halfway to the plate. If we just look at this clip here, and I know it's old, but it still is relevant on how those pitches mimic each other. He threw a 105.5 mile per hour fastball back in 2024 before Jay Miz was doing it, you know, on the reg. He touched 103.9 miles per hour in his last outing. The only thing that will hold him back that's like kind of completely out of his control is his save opportunities. I don't know how many opportunities the Angels are going to be able to scrape together and muster up for him. The team just flat out stinks. I imagine W's will be hard to come by down the stretch, but given the opportunity, I think Joyce will easily emerge as the lead dog fairly quickly in the Los Angeles Angels bullpen, and you'll just be able to slam the door on any little opportunity he gets for a 9th inning shutdown. If you are absolutely desperate for saves heading into the fantasy baseball playoff, Joyce isn't a terrible option if you can just hope that the Angels can string some wins together and give him some save opportunities in the last month and a half of the fantasy baseball season. So we might as well keep rolling with the relief pitchers while we're on this range. I really, turned a new leaf here in the last few weeks to finish this fantasy baseball season off, going from completely ignoring relief pitchers all year to talking about them practically every week on these weekly waiver wire videos. It's, full circle in 2026 for you, boy. But up next, we have an injured guy returning from Tommy John probably this weekend and should reclaim his 9th inning gig pretty much immediately. We got Justin Martinez from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Touching 102.4 miles per hour in his latest rehab outing, the flame-throwing righty looks to be Arizona's closer in the not-so-distant future, or they would have went out and bolstered that part of their team at the trade deadline, which they just didn't do. Martinez is another younger guy with a disgusting closer arsenal, a triple-digit heater, a filthy sinker, and a nasty split finger and a wipeout slider. Some of his pitch separation just boggles my mind, and with the velo that he throws them at, it's amazing that he can get hit like at all. Trevor May also has one of my favorite TikToks about seeing him pitch for the first time, just absolutely flabbergasted at what he's seeing. It always cracks me up. I'll probably edit it in here on one of these videos.
This dude is so gross. Who is it, though? Wait, who is this? Here he goes. this guy? What?
And also just shout out to Trevor Mayman for coming out and saying that he's never, ever going to promote, sponsor gambling on his YouTube channel. I respect that, man. I think the gambling shit is just absolutely out of control in sports. Need more guys like that. If Martinez can limit the free passes, he's just a stud closer, in my opinion, playing for a team that's going to have a lot of win opportunity over the last month and a half of the season. And I just don't see Brendan Garcia holding him off for very long. Save chasers, go get this man now. So next up, we have a guy that's looked to have got a massive boost because of the trade deadline after the Washington Nationals shipped out Garcia to the Yankees. He's taking a stranglehold on that open spot at first base now. We have the hard-hitting prospect, Abimelec Ortiz. I think I pronounced that right, or I absolutely butchered it. So coming over to Washington as part of the Mackenzie Gore trade with Texas, Ortiz packs a punch from the left side of the plate with just significant strength. He has plus raw power evidenced by his average exit velocity of 91.3 miles per hour and his max exit velocity of 116.3 miles per hour, both in the 99th percentile. He just knows how to barrel baseballs, also doing it 14.9% of the time in AAA and hitting the ball hard 45.6% of the time with a 76.4 mile per hour bat speed. That was a lot of numbers that got me sick even just listening to myself. But you love to see guys in the minors with better stats than expected. It usually is the other way around. And with strong pull air tendencies and a manageable whiff and K percentage, it's not hard to see Ortiz having success immediately in the majors, like we've already seen in his first couple weeks here. I think there honestly could be 25 to 30 home run potential for Ortiz at his peak. I don't think we're going to see that level to close out 2026 though. I just think he's going to be in a platoon. He hasn't started against the lefty yet, but with a lot of righties on deck on the horizon and going 10 for 30 so far with 4 home runs and 8 RBI in his short 11-game MLB stint so far with a 1.122 OPS, I think the opportunity is there for Ortiz to be a useful guy for 12-team leagues to close out the fantasy season. All right, now let's move on to the section where I think these pitchers are just under-rostered, at least in Yahoo leagues. I think they need to be on more rosters as we head into the fantasy baseball playoffs. And first up, we got the stud. We got Cade Cavalli. I think we talked about this guy at least 2 or 3 times throughout the year. So, shout out to your boy. Hopefully you guys added him and kept him because the cutter has just been a game changer for him. His breaking ball is also just one of the better pitches in the MLB. I think the breakout is here. The velocity is here, up and to stay. He's 69% owned, even though that's nice, I think it's still too low. The guy has banged home 9 quality starts out of his last 10 games, and that one game was on short rest and extreme heat where he battled dehydration. Oh, and in that same stretch, he's striking out at least 1 batter per inning as well. Go get him. And next up, we have Sean Manaea. I actually thought about including him in the main waiver wire section, but I just ended up putting him in this one here. When Manaea is throwing 93 miles per hour, we like it. It's nice, and it's time to go at him. He had averaged 92 miles per hour in each of his last 3 starts, and velo was just always a huge indicator for success with Manaea throughout his career. In his last 6 starts with some velo up, he has a 2.95 ERA, a 1.25 whip, and a 25.2 strikeout rate with that ridiculously low arm angle. The extension is elite. The arm angle actually keeps dropping. I feel like he's kind of back to 2024 vibes as he just continually peppers batters with fastballs and they just can't seem to hit it. And it's kind of directly correlated with his recent success too. He started throwing more fastballs month over month. And like I just said, in those last 6 starts, the success has just gone up and up. I think Manaea should be owned in 12-team leagues. He has a real tough test today when this video is coming out on Saturday against the Nationals. So I would be super cautious there. I'm probably expecting a blow-up game because I'm talking about him today, and then I'm going to post a video and he's going to lit up or shelled for 8 runs. But also a nice little bonus, depending on when your guys' playoffs are. If the finals or the semifinals start September 7th, he has a nice 2-start week against Miami and the Yankees. And he also just could be an impact arm leading up to that. And the last under-owned pitcher, I think, is Edward Cabrera. Now, Cabrera is working himself back from hamstring and abductor injuries, but the way he pitched in his last rehab assignment game on Tuesday might be a sign that he's ready to return and just make an immediate impact again. He pitched for AA Knoxville. Cabrera tossed 5 no-hit innings while throwing 64 pitches. He struck out 7 and most notably just walked 1 batter. It's been a terribly disappointing year for him for fantasy, I know, especially after he broke out in 2025, but I think the potential is still there. The defense and the team behind him is still there to potentially make a huge impact as we lead up into the fantasy baseball playoffs. I would really love it, and I'm really hoping that we'll get back to the 2025 levels where he uses sinker more and his 4-seamer less. Because if he does that, I think it's just essential for his arsenal, and I think maybe we could see him get back to a little bit of those 2025 levels where he was so effective for fantasy. Okay, now let's move on to a couple under-rostered hitters, at least in my opinion. And first up, we got Zach Geloff. Now, Geloff returned from the IL on August 10th, and he's gone 5 for 12 with 2 home runs, 5 runs scored, and 3 RBI in his first 3 games back, or at least at the time that I've recorded this. We highlighted him a way back. One of the first people, I think he was like under 5% rostered. He was one of the better waiver wire hits that we had this year when he's been healthy, of course. And he's just been great for the A's and for fantasy managers as well. He's cut down on his swing rate and he's being more selective in his approach, which has led to real improvements in his contact rate. The bat speed has stayed up and he remains a real solid power speed option with 13 home runs and 8 steals in 70 games this season. Definitely go double check your league's waiver wire right now to see if the owner dropped him while he was hurt, because you need to scoop him up immediately if so, because I think he could be a very impactful player over the last month and a half of the fantasy baseball season. And then the next player, I know he was just in this section last week, but the dude just keeps mashing, Caleb Durbin. He's raising his OPS month by month. 54%, I think, in Yahoo is just criminal, but I know we have to account for like all the dead leagues or all the teams and whatever that they're way out of the playoff race and they've stopped paying attention. So maybe there is a reason for it being that low on Yahoo, but he's ranked 10th in his last 30 days. If Durbin is a free agent in your league right now, just comment down below who you have at the end of your bench as like a bench type stash player that you're keeping over Durbin. I'm just curious. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, now we're on to some deep league bangers, some deep league ads for all you guys out there. And first up, we talked about him last week, which turned out to be a success. Cody Bradford, he pitched 7 innings, allowing 3 earned runs on 5 hits, but he only did strike out 1 batter, which is just downright nasty and pretty lame. And honestly surprising, as he absolutely just chucks gas with his four-seamer, tops out at 88 miles per hour. His next start is against the A's on the Rose, and you know we don't want to start pitchers there because the ball just absolutely flies out of the ballpark there, and pitchers can get absolutely shelled. But after that, he's got the Angels and Brewers, and then he's at home against the A's on the horizon, and it's a decent bet that he could turn out quality outings in at least 2 or 3 of those with solid, if not great, win potential. And next up, we have AJ Smith-Shawver. Now, AJ did make 1 start back in the major leagues in late July, but was optioned to AAA pretty much immediately after that start, but I think he did held his own, at least somewhat, returning from Tommy John surgery, and his velo was up across the board, which is a very encouraging sign. He has been dominant down in AAA, putting up a 1.57 ERA with 30.6 strikeout rate and an 8.1% walk rate. And with the Braves now talking about bringing him back up to the majors in the coming days, one would like to think that it's not just going to be another cameo appearance again. I think they're going to bring him up for good, at least for the rest of the season. And you could try and get ahead of the curve adding him now before the call-up is official and chase some potential young upside and an arm just loaded with talent. And then last up, we have Angel Hino. Now, Hino was on here last week when he was called up, with the main thing that I talked about then, just a little blurb that we had about him, was just the playing time concerns. But he's actually only sat once so far, batting near the bottom of the order each night. So I will go a little bit more in depth about him now, because it looks like he's going to be getting some playing time, that the Cleveland Guardians are going to try and fit him into their roster each night. So in 72 games in AAA, Hino hit 309, 395, 494 with 13 home runs, 53 RBI, and 11 steals with a 45% hard hit rate and an 89.7 mile per hour average exit velocity. He also has 71.5 mile per hour bat speed in his brief MLB sample, but he also pulls the ball in the air pulled the ball in the air a ton in AAA with a 49% pull rate. Also has a nice 92% zone contact rate and a 7% swinging strike rate in AAA. So he makes plenty of contact, and like we've talked about before, the guys that have a friendly contact profile can have more immediate success than these big swing and miss guys that you can see otherwise. Jumping to his MLB career, it started off good so far with 8 hits, 1 home run, 3 RBI, and a swipe in 27 at-bats, and he's only struck out twice so far. I think there's a good chance that he's going to play every day with the Guardians using that DH spot to rotate hitters to keep them in their lineup. And if so, he should be on your radar for deeper leagues. It's recap time. Did I f*** over your team this week? Stay tuned to find out. All right, in recap time, I'm putting the hat forward so you guys know that I actually can wear it forward sometimes. I always just rock it in the back here. But first up, we had George Lombard Jr. Loads of potential here. I still think he's a must-add in most 12-team leagues. Then with Kalen Culpepper, the playing time is actually a little bit more sporadic than I thought it'd be, which we don't like. But he's hitting the ball well when he's actually playing. But if he's not going to be close to playing every day, though, he just really can't be paid attention to or can't really be in our lineups for 12-team leagues as we head into the fantasy baseball playoffs. We need consistent playing time and we need consistent production. And then we had Jackson Jobe, who just got absolutely destroyed today. He was just serving up 100-mile-per-hour heaters right down the heart of the plate, and they were just getting punished. He had a great outing his first outing. The stuff still is electric. I still like the movement on the stuff. I still like the velo. I like the potential. But at this point of the year, we can't have guys on our roster for 12-team leagues that are going to be hit and miss like this with the potential to be blown up for 5 to 6 earned runs in like a 3 or 4 inning outing. We just can't have it. So his next outing is going to be really huge on how I'm going to view him heading into the fantasy baseball playoffs. Then we had Cooper Pratt, a nice number 2 sports jinx there. We hadn't had it for a while, injured immediately. So that sucks for him. And then Jordan Lawler, nothing's changed. I think he's going to be up early next week. So I'm still holding out some hope for a power speed option to close out the year. So Lombard was obviously good. Culpepper is not going to be great if he's not playing every day. Job, this outing was terrible. I think I'm still on him. I like the potential. I like the upside. But his next outing is going to be huge. I need to see him bounce back. We can maybe give him a little bit of slack here. He hasn't pitched for like a calendar year besides that first outing. And then Pratt, jinx, injury, doesn't really count. And then Lawler was still a stash. So if we also take into account for hitting on a couple of the players to ignore last week, and then also a couple of the deep league ads, which turned out pretty decent, pretty solid, I don't know. There probably really should be a punishment just based on how Joe pitched and how Culpepper's not paying every day. But I did one last week that wasn't really deserved. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling as I get to the end of editing this video. There might be one in here. There might not, man. And call me a phony if you want. Whatever. If you disagree, let's argue about it in the comments, man. Let's go. All right. Got to the end of the video editing. We for sure should add a punishment looking at how bad Job kind of fucked us. I'm tired. Why don't we just do a little doggy cam instead of a punishment? Something a little different, Hey Sadie, you want to be on YouTube? Oh, good girl. This is my filming partner, my video making partner. She always lies down here with me. There's the guy's punishment. Hey? But all right, guys, that's another waiver wire video in the books. I know fantasy baseball season is kind of winding down a little bit here. If you're still watching this video, that means you're still in the playoff hunt. You've got a playoff spot locked down. That's awesome. I hope you guys bring home the ship. We're probably going to do 1, maybe 2 more waiver wire videos this year, and maybe 1 video specifically about playoff stuff. We'll see. And then I want to take a couple weeks off. I haven't really took any time off making videos. This is all in my spare time. Again, this isn't my job whatsoever. I still work my full normal 9 to 5 dad life after that. I haven't really missed a week or rarely miss weeks since I started doing this about a year and a half ago. So I want to take a couple weeks off before we get ramped up for fantasy basketball season. Make sure if you're playing fantasy basketball, make sure you follow me all year long. We had a ton of good picks last year. We hit on a ton of guys. It's awesome. It's a blast. And I'm going to be trying to set up some leagues maybe if you guys haven't or are thinking about playing it. So make sure you stick around for that. And as always, guys, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you commenting. I appreciate you liking. I appreciate you subbing. Hopefully we get to the 3,200 sub mark after the end of this video. We're pretty close here. And as always, I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, week, weekend, wherever you are. And I'll see you guys real soon.